Imagine your salary doubled overnight. Same job, same hours, same everything. Just twice the money landing in your account every month. That sounds like winning. Most people would call that winning. Now imagine that because your salary doubled, every business you owned slowly started losing customers. Your neighbors got laid off, and the town you live in started hollowing out from the inside. Still feels like winning? That is roughly what happens to America when the dollar gets strong. And right now, most people are cheering for exactly the wrong thing. Here's what the financial press will tell you when the dollar strengthens. They will use words like robust, confident, dominant. They will point to charts going up and talk about American strength on the global stage. What they will not tell you is who actually pays for that strength. Because a strong dollar is not free. It is not neutral. It is a transfer. It takes value from some parts of the American economy and hands it to others. And the parts that lose are the ones most people do not think about until they are already gone. To understand why, you need to understand what the dollar actually is when it leaves American soil. When an American company sells something abroad, a piece of machinery, a software license, a ton of soybeans, that transaction almost always happens in dollars. The foreign buyer needs to convert their currency into dollars first. So the exchange rate matters enormously. Now, when the dollar is strong, that foreign buyer needs to spend more of their own currency to get the same number of dollars, which means American goods suddenly cost more. Not because the product changed, not because the factory got less efficient, simply because of math. A European company buying American equipment that costs $1 million now needs to spend more euros to complete that same purchase. So what do? They look for alternatives. They find a German manufacturer or a South Korean competitor, or they delay the purchase entirely. American exporters do not lose those customers dramatically. They lose them quietly. One contract not renewed, one deal that goes somewhere else, one factory that runs a little slower this quarter and a little slower the next. Multiply that across agriculture, aerospace, industrial equipment, pharmaceuticals, and you start to see the scale of what a strong dollar actually costs. Now, here is the part that does not make the front page. The United States runs a trade deficit. It imports far more than it exports. For decades, economists and politicians have called this a problem, a sign of weakness, evidence that America is being taken advantage of. But a strong dollar makes that deficit wider, automatically. Because when the dollar strengthens, imports get cheaper. American consumers can buy more foreign goods for less money. Electronics, clothing, cars, all of it flows in more easily. Which sounds convenient, and it is for consumers in the short term. But every cheap imported product is also a product that was not made in America. Every factory that could not compete on price is a factory that downsizes, relocates, or closes. The dollar's strength and American manufacturing's decline are not separate stories. They are the same story told from two different angles. There is a concept in economics called the impossible trinity. The idea that a country cannot simultaneously have a fixed exchange rate, free capital movement, and independent monetary policy. You can only pick two. America picked free capital movement and independent monetary policy, which means the dollar's value floats. And when global investors get nervous, when emerging markets wobble, when geopolitical tension rises, money flows into dollar assets as a safe haven, which is exactly the problem. America does not fully control when its currency strengthens. The dollar gets stronger precisely when the rest of the world is suffering. Capital rushes in, the currency rises, and American exporters, farmers, manufacturers absorb the damage from a crisis they had nothing to do with. This is the quiet penalty of being the world's reserve currency. The privilege comes with a cost that almost nobody talks about. In 1971, economist Robert Triffin identified something that has never been resolved. If the dollar is the world's reserve currency, America must supply dollars to the global economy. The only way to do that is to run deficits. But running persistent deficits eventually undermines confidence in the dollar itself. The world needs a strong dollar. America needs a weaker one. Those two things cannot both be true forever. That tension has been building for decades. It gets papered over, it gets managed, it gets delayed. But it does not go away. The current moment is not unique. The dollar has surged before. In the early 1980s, it got so strong that the world's major economies had to intervene directly, collectively, in what became known as the Plaza Accord. They sat down and agreed to deliberately weaken the dollar because the alternative was worse for everyone, including America. We are not there yet. But the architecture of that problem has not changed. So the next time you see a headline celebrating the dollar's strength, it is worth pausing for a moment. Ask who is celebrating. Ask who is silent. The financial sector benefits from a strong dollar. Importers benefit. Consumers get cheaper goods in the short term. Wall Street generally approves. But somewhere, a factory is running at reduced capacity. A farmer is watching an export deal fall through. A small manufacturer is losing a contract to a foreign competitor that became more affordable overnight. A strong dollar does not make America weaker in some abstract, patriotic sense. It makes specific parts of America weaker in very concrete, measurable ways. And those parts tend to be the ones that are already under pressure. Here is the question worth sitting with. If the dollar's dominance is both America's greatest financial privilege and one of its most persistent economic burdens, what happens to the countries that depend on that dominance even more than America does the moment it starts to slip? Because it will not stay strong forever. Nothing does. And the adjustment, when it comes, will surprise the same people who are cheering right